Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome back to another Energy Ninja podcast. So today, um, I'm thinking maybe I should introduce myself just in case you're landing on this video for the first time and you don't know who the heck am I. So my name is Yana Kasperczak. I am an empath and I have a company called Empath Unicorn Academy. I am also spiritual awakening core energy coach. It's like I gotta put the words in order. And I typically work with women who are entrepreneurs who are building their business and also going through this awakening journey. And those that go through it, they know, or about to go through it, they know that it's not an easy journey. So building a business and going through spiritual awakening, that's quite hard. It's quite hard. I've been doing it for quite a few years myself, and I've learned that this is the kind of people I love to work with that are doing the same thing because we can actually have a conversation, right? It's like a different language that we speak, different frequency that we vibrate on. It will attract those types of people to me, right? So but before we talk about what the topic is for today, I wanted Rachel to introduce herself as well so people get more familiar with who Rachel is and what she does. So, Rachel, let
Cool.
me know.
Hi. Yeah, my name is Rachel Goldberg, and I am the founder of Empath Warrior Training, the Facebook group. And my business with my team is called Shamanism for the People. And both both groups really align beautifully. Empath Warrior Training is more focused on um, developing the tools as empaths to stand short-footed in our truths, like the essence of who we are, to really view our sensitivities and all that extra sensory information we receive, to view them as gifts, because for so long empaths, we've viewed our gifts as curses. We felt cursed our whole lives because we things that are apparent to us are not immediately apparent to others, and with that has come all sorts of wounding and trauma. So through Empath Warrior Training, we do a lot of, it's actually shamanic work. It's soul retrieval. It's going back to those initial moments where we felt that split from self, like where we felt like it wasn't okay to be who we are. And so we're really loving that part of ourselves back into the light, back into our heart. And and the shamanism for the people is kind of like the same thing, just it's for all humans. We are um, offering all sorts of modalities within the team. Like my partner Chris offers guided meditations and dharma talks. Our teammate Kay offers drum journey healing. Our brother Dustin offers Monday morning meditation, and he's also a DJ. So, yeah, it's a nice variety of humans that have come together to just offer something in service to the greater good, in service to the collective. Uh, and, um, and, and we see this great opportunity in Western civilization to start learning the or remembering the ancient healing arts and ancient creative arts. And so with shamanism for the people, it's really our goal to make it all accessible, to take the mysterious and create pathways for our fellow human beings to experience it, and experiencing the healing that comes with it.
Yeah, and that is exactly what a lot of people are missing in their mental diet, right? Um, especially like the yoga, the meditation, the knowledge, everything that you guys offer, right? Um, is what people that are awakening are missing.
Mhm.
And because they're missing something, they find themselves. This is where we're getting to what the topic is about. So the topic today is about being intentional with plant medicine. And like I was saying, people that are awakening and they're not aware that they're awakening, especially right now, there's a lot of people that are going through that. They, it, and it creates uncomfortableness within the body. So most people, they tend to find ways to numb it. And the intention is, I don't want to feel this way. I want to feel normal. And without fully understanding what that word normal even means, they numb themselves with medicine, right? And and the intention behind it is very important because I too have numbed myself with medicine, going through a spiritual awakening, not knowing what the hell is going on. I thought I was crazy. I thought I was depressed. I thought I was just weird. I was just tired and exhausted. Without getting into the whole journey in there, I found myself numbing myself. First, it was with alcohol. Right, this is most people's poison that they choose, or medicine. Right. For me now, I see it as poison, whereas before I saw it as medicine. And however one sees it, there's no right or wrong way of looking at it or seeing it. It's just, that's what helped me to shift out of that, to get out of it, right? And because then my body started reacting a certain way when I would drink. So now I barely drink. I don't enjoy drinking at all. And then getting into cannabis, I too wanted to just escape, not feel. But of course, cannabis has different ideas. Right? It's a teacher. So it would find ways to teach me what it was meant for and how to use it. Because if I go in before I ingest the medicine, and my initial thoughts are, I wasn't even aware of them in the beginning. Um, but the initial thoughts in the beginning were, I just want to escape. I don't want to feel anything. I just want to just sit down and relax and do nothing. Right. So I would go and I would inhale the medicine. I would take the medicine. And then I'm like, oh, for a split moment there, I would get like that energy, a burst of energy. Oh, I want to do this. I want to do that. Great. Let's go and do that. I got to clean. And then I start doing it. And then the intention sets in, because for me, I've found that if I set the intention prior to ingesting it, no matter what else comes afterwards, the ideas or the creations, and because my mind also gets really creative for like about depending on the intention that I went in with, but for about 5, 10, sometimes to an hour and 2 hours if that was the intention. um, but if the intention was not to do anything, to sit down and relax, guess what's going to happen? That exact same thing, right? um, so the topic for today is being intentional with plant medicine. Now, to my understanding, I don't know very much about alcohol, spirits, but I'm pretty sure they all come from plants.
Mhm.
So it is a plant medicine, just made a different way.
Mhm.
So what comes up for you?
Mhm. Well, yeah, to start with that, with alcohol, my my experience was, well, I started drinking the first time I drank was when I was about 13, and an older brother's friend brought their, I think they must have been having a party at my house or something, and he was like, Rach, come to the car. I have something for you. And he opened his trunk, and there it was this like case of little tiny Coronas, like 8-ounce Coronas. Um, and so yeah, no intention there. I think there I just wanted to fit in with the older kids, and from there, uh, I mean, I was drinking like in bars when I was 17, 18, even though it was illegal because my brother's band played in a bar. And so I became very comfortable drinking very early, and I learned how to schmooze and like play the social game while drinking. And so it's kind of like my go-to. Like I learned very young that I'm a celebrated drunk. Like I do very well socially when drinking, and it wasn't until I was maybe mid 20s, mid to late 20s, when it just became so clear, like I couldn't block my gifts anymore. Like I didn't realize that I was drinking. Like I thought that everybody had social anxiety and everybody drank to move through the social anxiety so that we could be like make friends like in college. If I drank, I'd be fine at a party. If I was sober, I would just be experiencing too much, like noticing too much. I'd be concerned for too many people. I would overhear too many conversations. So, and I didn't realize that was unique to empaths or highly sensitive people. I thought everybody experienced that, so we all drink, and then yeah, I guess it wasn't until yeah mid to late 20s when I was like, I need to figure this out. Like, what what am I missing? Um, like it just hit me that I was drinking to block out my intuition and
Mhm.
like the all the extrasensory information. And because I kept noticing things and pointing them out to friends, and they'd be like, "What? I didn't notice that." And then like sure enough, the like premonition that I had would reveal itself and become apparent to others. And I was like, man, this is kind of getting exhausting. Just like having all this information, seeing all these things, and just like being alone with it. And then while at the same time, I was also wondering, I had already started working with a coach, and I was just wondering what everybody, like looking around at my friends and realizing I don't really know anyone's core values. Are we friends? Are we drinking buddies? What's going on? And so, in health and wellness started becoming a more important core value to me. And I did there was one day where I went to the doctor for just regular checkup, and she asked how much. She was just like going through the list of questions, and she asked how much I drink per week. And she was like 3 drinks, and I was like 3. And then she like
Yeah.
kept going higher, and I was like, man, like I would probably drink 10 drinks easily on a Friday night and then keep drinking all weekend to like deal with the hangover. And and that's when she was like, okay, well, like I didn't even give her the final answer because I was like sitting there trying to count like all the drinks I have as soon as I get out of work on a Friday. And it was just like too many. I like lose count because we would drink straight from 5 p.m. getting out of work straight till 2 a.m. when the bars closed, and then I'd go home. And if people wanted to come home with me, we'd keep drinking. And so, yeah, I was like sitting there trying to count, and then she was like, "Okay, well, this would be considered an alcoholic." and it just like hit me. I was like, damn, well, time to make some changes. Um, and so that's when I quit drinking, and I quit for about a year and a half, and just began learning so much about myself. Um, I That's when I first started looking up, like, what's an empath. Actually, first I looked up how can you tell if you've been reincarnated, because all this information that was like always coming through. I was like, what is this? Like, why do I have like this understanding? Why do I feel older than everybody in my family, even though I'm the youngest?
Hmm.
And I was like, maybe. And then I remembered when I was 5 years old and I was like obsessed with reincarnation and wanted to talk about it with my Nana all the time. And I would tell her things like, I'm your older sister. And so I just like remembered that that was like an area of interest in my life when I was real young. So I looked up how to tell if you've been reincarnated, and then that kind of led to um, looking up what an empath is. And so that's when I was like, okay. And I hit like I've actually like now I have some answers to why I always feel different, and everything, all of the characteristics of being an empath are all the reasons why I would drink so much. So instead of drinking to quiet them or numb them, um, because it'd be like if I were at a bar somewhere with friends, if I wasn't drinking, I would be trying to hold space for the person, unloading their drama on me, seeing like a person coming in that doesn't look very stable. See, I'd be like seeing everything going on, and I just wanted to be me and have a good time. So drinking would help that. And so when I stopped and got to know all these gifts, like I really got to know my what my gifts are, and also learned a very important lesson, which is like who my real friends are, who's still around when I'm not going to the bar, who still reaches out. And then that's when I became way more intentional about really any plant medicine that I was engaging with. And so from there, my focus was on cannabis because it also helped get me off of Adderall. I was taking tons of Adderall at one point in my life, and it was such a like clearly an addiction. And so cannabis one day just helped me quit altogether, and that was my intention. Like I actually went down. So there's a dispensary below where I worked, a medical dispensary, and I went downstairs and I was like, "Here's what's going on." I told the bud tender everything. I was like, "I've been taking 90 milligrams of Adderall a day for 4 years, like since I was in law school, and um, it's ruining my life pretty much." And he was like, "I got just the thing." And he came back with this tincture that was that was 1-to-1 ratio of CBD and THC. So, and then I brought it back up to work and I was like holding it and I was like, "You're going to help me quit Adderall," and put some drops in my tea, and never had Adderall again after that. So it definitely did its job. And, and I will say, before I continue on setting intentions, I will say, since I quit drinking that initial time, I have, after about a year and a half, I did reintroduce it back into my life. And it's just really intentional now. And I'll have one or two. So if I choose to have a beer, I trend toward IPAs, which are really hoppy, and I've developed a connection with hops. So not the alcohol, but the hops, um, and and they ground me, because sometimes, especially if I'm around people who don't practice mind and spirit health, or body health. Maybe people who are just unconscious of um, these deeper modes of connection and understanding. Um, a beer does help, like a hoppy beer does ground me. It's like the disadvantages of levels 6 and 7, like can be perceived as being out of touch with reality. Level 7, nothing is seen as real. Sometimes I'm there and in public, and so having an IPA will ground me, and it feels like it's helping me to be human again. And that's the intention that I'm setting. Or else you know, I'll say things to people like, oh, death isn't real, it's an illusion, and so is life, and all of this is a perceptual illusion. And if people aren't down to talk that way, a beer is a beer is very helpful for me. And with wine, so I'll have beer or wine if I do choose to. And with wine, I'll communicate with the grapes. And sometimes they're silly, and they want me to be silly, like they want me to have fun with them and be playful. Um and so that'll be, yeah, the intention that I set. And then I will leave it out at one drink or two drinks tops, because I can also tell when the alcohol, because I'm so clear with my intention, I can tell when the alcohol is kind of like enticing me away from my original intention, and it's like keep going. And that's when I'm like, nah, no, that doesn't serve me to keep going. So yeah, it's changed my relationship so much from, yeah, like, who knows, over 20 drinks a week easily, to one or two every, I don't know, once a month or so. So the intention's really, I mean, with everything, the intention is everything.
Mhm. Yeah, and when you're talking about the beer, the hop, it's a plant, right? Because we were just talking about alcohol, how all alcohol is pretty much plant. Um, and there's probably, I mean, again, as you can tell, I'm not an alcohol expert or a beer expert, but I presume, and if we have an expert on here listening or watching, let us know what makes that beer hoppy. I want to say yeast,
Mm.
but there's also different types of yeasts that are used, right? There's for beers, and probably a different one for bread, but that's what makes it like that bubbly. Because I know when we make dough with yeast, it makes it like really fluffy and bubbly, and especially the dough is really like sticky and stretchy, and it makes it more bubbly, right? So that's what I'm like picturing, that foam on top of the beer as being that dough.
Mhm. Yeah,
And when you talk to that plant, like with wine, you know that it's the grapes, right? Here you're talking to the hop.
yeah, the hops. And if you look at hops, like they actually look like plant medicine. Like they look like a can of like a, almost like cannabis. Um, so it's their own, and yeast is its own intelligent being too. Like, um, Chris grows kombucha, and he has a sourdough starter, and you can tell like when this thing is alive, it is alive and it is communicating. So that's something that it's so key to take into account. Like, to think that we are the only sentient beings is kind of naive, or I don't know, maybe like a little egocentric to think that
Yeah,
these aren't alive. Like that, to think we're the only really alive, like us and our pets are the only living beings like worthy of respecting our intelligence.
yeah.
There's intelligence and pretty much everything that we grow and put in our bodies. And when we open ourselves enough to expand to that frequency where we can communicate, like expand beyond the thinking mind. Like the thinking mind is very much like, I need to see it to believe it.
Yeah.
And the realm of feeling, we don't need to see it, we can feel it. And we're like, oh, yeah, I just communicated with that plant. Like I felt that. So it is really helpful to just like think like, yeah, what is yeast? What is fermentation? Like, what is going on here? Why is this like flour bubbling out of nowhere? What's going on?
It's a
And
lot.
and wonder like what they're taking in from us, what they're hearing from us. There's this book that I read. It's a wonderful book called Thus Spoke the Plant. And it's by Monica Gagliano. And she began her career as a scientist, like very much indoctrinated in the scientific mindset, which some often discredits intuition and the mystical, because you can't prove it. And so she began her career that way, and then she had a mystical experience um, while pursuing one of her projects. It was in the water with fish, and she her perception shifted from seeing the fish as an object for her science experiment to sacred living beings with their own sentience, their own experience. And she no longer wanted to continue with this science experiment, especially without honoring their divinity, their sacredness. And that sent her on this whole journey with plant medicine, where she actually did prove the sentience of plants through her lab experiments. Um, so the book's cool. Like it's like kind of like every other chapter she has a mystical experience. Every other chapter she does a science experiment. So she weaves the two, science and spirituality, really beautifully. But in the book, she talks about how um, plants, like as humans' needs evolve and develop, and especially with the complexity that we're facing and the challenges that we're facing really seem to be escalating.
Mhm.
um, and she talks about how the uses of plants and their purpose will shift and change and evolve with us. So is more the more it's the complexity of the challenges we face as a species are appearing to me, and the more um, I am such a strong advocate for listening to the plants and hearing what they want to tell us, and are able to tell us, like they've been around. um like I began really consciously setting an intention with plants after I watched this YouTube, and it was Terrence McKenna speaking, and he was speaking about um it's called The Voice of the Mushroom, I believe. And he's talking about um this time he said to the mushroom, he said, show me what you really are for yourself. And he's like, and it just started unfolding. And he's like, then you're sorry you even asked. But but before that, he was like, it's a galactic being. He's like, this thing is billions of years old. It's an ancient galactic intelligence. It's seen 150,000 civilizations. And so that made me feel pretty new. Like mushrooms been here for billions of years, and then oh, humans, like here we are. Um, and so I've incorporated that with cannabis. Like cannabis, also an ancient galactic ally. And so when we see these plants as ancient galactic allies, and we can sit with it and be vulnerable and be like, look, I don't know what's going on in this world. I think you might, uh, and just find some kind of inner faith through that process. Like the plants know, we might not, but we can trust them. And even with this wave, there's a psychedelic renaissance occurring now, and not even psychedelics. Like we see lion's mane um, helping with regeneration of nerves that maybe have atrophied, and just all sorts of uses for mushrooms that have been around for a long time,
Yep.
and we're just now remembering.
Yeah. I, you know, I never thought of it that way, that, they've been around for a lot longer. They might have even been around since dinosaur age or even before that.
Mhm.
Um, so, and all that knowledge is because everything underneath the ground, all the roots, everything is connected. That knowledge is passed between, and it's saved. It's like, um, how our grandparents will tell us stories. They'll share their knowledge and their wisdom with us, right? But our memory, our human memory, we can't rely on it. Like we can't rely on our human memory, even like going back to how things happen, because the memory that we have is a little bit distorted. So now, and thinking of the plants, that they don't have the distorted memory, because with them there is no attachment to things. There is none of this emotion that we feel. It's like the message is,
Yep.
the experience is, this is. So they speak the truth. And all of us have probably already heard that if you want to get to know a person, get them really drunk and you'll know who they really are. Because the plant, spirit, alcohol is called spirit, right? And you wonder, why is it called spirit? It's because you took a plant, you put its spirit in there, and now you're drinking the plant spirit,
Mm-hmm.
or you're smoking the plant spirit. And it's a spirit, which means that it was alive and it still is alive in a way, right? So that reminded me of something I heard, and I think it was a show or documentary. Anyways, elephants are really smart, and so are the plants. So when elephants go to eat trees that are actually poisonous, for the first few minutes, they're not poisonous. They'll eat them and they'll eat them. But then what happens is that these trees are letting the rest of the trees around them know we are being eaten.
Mm.
So they start to produce the poison. That's
Wow.
when elephants will move on really quickly.
Mm.
Like, and again, like thinking about now, how can we humans be intentional about what it is that we're doing? Be Think of what you actually want to get out of this plant. Whatever you're consuming, it's still a plant. Think of what is the purpose. What is the goal? What is the end goal? What do you want to experience? What do you want to have? What do you want to do once you ingest it?
Mm.
And if it's not benefiting you, change it into the one that benefits you
Mm-hmm.
in a way that is believable, that you don't feel that too much resistance with it. Um, so, and it would be different for everyone, right? And as we have a couple of minutes left, when you were talking about the fish and how she saw the fish, there's a documentary on Netflix. I haven't watched it; I just watched the preview. I think it's something like "Octopus is my teacher."
Yeah, my octopus teacher.
Yeah, I saw the preview. I'm like, and when you're talking about the fish, like, yes,
Yeah,
look.
War Dog. The You gotta watch my octopus teacher. Like, I have a friend who's like, he's like, it's time for the cephalopods or whatever they're called. He's like, it's time for them to just take over the earth. Um, and watching this documentary, like, it's true. Like, the octopus is just so smart,
Yeah.
um, so clever. Oh, it's such a great documentary. Um, but yeah, as we're wrapping up, I just want to mention as well something that's also great to bring into ceremony with plant spirit, and to just use that word as well, ceremony. Like really shifting our mindset. Like, I'm not using this plant. I'm coming into sacred union with this plant in a ceremonial container. It's a really intimate experience. Inviting another living being who that also drinks water and sunlight just like us into my body. So something else that's really lovely in ceremony from my experience is also when we set our intention, what we would like to get from the experience is also offering, I'm also here for you, Mother Earth. So whatever, just throwing it out there to Mother Earth, whatever you want, to show me, I'm here for you. What can I do for you? So thank you for this medicine, and how can I reciprocate in some way?
Mhm. Sounds like mutual exchange, that you're not using the plant. I mean, if you're going, if you and let's say Rachel and I we were friends, and then all of a sudden I started to use you, and there was no benefit for you, how long would you stick around for?
Mm-hmm.
Not very long. Same thing with this friend that you have, this plant medicine. That is your friend. Treat it responsibly.
Yeah.
Treat it like it's an equal, and don't just use it for yourself. Give something back, offer something back, right? I'm not asking, for you to go and sacrifice a goat, right? That's never that's never the thing here. But like Rachel said, what can I do for you, right? Um, and whatever you hear might be it.
Mm-hmm.
For me, sometimes it's like, go plant a plant. That's what I want. I want more brothers and sisters to be here because some of them are still in pots in stores and they are crying to be reunited with us.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I hear that, I'm like, okay, well, that's just weird. Don't say it out loud to anyone because people think you're crazy. But that doesn't make us crazy. That makes us aware of that we're not alone, that we are connected, that plants are us. We are plants. We share DNA with them. Just because it was rearranged in a different way, not all the plants were lucky enough to be humans like us and experience everything. Maybe not yet, but they'll get there, right? Their spirit will get there.
And it already is through us. It's like a seed. It starts as a seed, becomes like with cannabis. It blows my mind. The DNA within that seed is ready to be unlocked, grows into this beautiful plant, and then the sentience of that plant, if we smoke it, who knows? It's infinite, because maybe some brilliant ideas come out of us when we're after we sit in union with it, and then that plant that was that seed will live forever, just like our spirits. So it
Exactly.
really is such a sacred exchange.
Yeah. If we do it the right way, then we are in union with it and we're not using it and we're not being used by it. Because when we overindulge, then we feel like we have no control over ourselves, then the plan takes over.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know about you, but I like to be in a driver's seat,
Mm-hmm.
not in the passenger, not in the back seat, and definitely not in the trunk. Right? For me, the trunk is like when I've had way too much medicine, and I'm like, oh my god, I can't. I need to go and hide in the trunk, right? That I have absolutely no control over it,
Mm-hmm.
and that's not fun.
No, it's not. It's a great lesson, but you know, we don't
Exactly.
want peace.
Yeah, and we all want to be in the driver's seat. So let's get into that driver's seat by setting intentions and equal exchange, mutual exchange that, you know, I help you, you help me. We got this.
Yeah.
Right. So, other than that, I think that's pretty much all for today that we have for you guys. So, thank you for tuning in, listening, and hopefully taking notes and sharing it with someone that you know would benefit from it.
Mm.
Right? Mutual exchange. We help you, you help us. And if you like this content, check out my page. And I think Rachel, there's also all the Rachel's information will be at the bottom. Check out her pages and connect and see where that goes. Right? There's a lot more that we have to offer from all the other content that we have previous uploaded and will continue to upload for each and every one of you. So once again, thank you, everyone. And thank you, Rachel. I
Thank you.
appreciate, I love our Mondays. Appreciate is not even the right word. I love our Mondays, and I always look forward to them. So
Mhm. Thank
until
you.
next one.
Until next time.
Thanks.
Bye. Love.
Bye.
Bye.